Hi folks, welcome to this week's Productivity Enhancer. Today we're going to discover some of the 3D functions in Adobe Photoshop. So I've created an image right here, nothing fancy, but we're going to use it to explore some of the 3D options. So let's go up to our 3D option tab, New Mesh from Layer, and you can see we have a few different options. Let's choose the postcard option first, and it gives us a message saying you are about to create a 3D layer. Would you like to switch to the 3D workspace? Absolutely. Okay, so here we are in the 3D workspace. We have an X, a Y, and a Z axis, which delineates our 3D workspace. So since we've chosen postcard, nothing's going to change within the image. However, the image itself has been placed within a 3D environment. So if we go ahead and click on the image, you see that we have a few axes that show up. Each axis has 3 different points of manipulation. If we grab the Y axis right at the top, you can see it says move on Y axis, and that allows us to move it straight up and down on the Y axis. If we choose the second one down, which is move on Z axis, that allows us to move forward and backwards on the Z axis. And finally, on the bottom we have scale along the Y axis, which is going to scale along the Y axis. So let's just return this kind of to where it was. Each axis has those 3 capabilities: move along the X axis, move on the X axis, which rotates, and of course scale on the X axis. So if we zoom out here, you can see that this 2-dimensional postcard is still in this 3-dimensional graphic space. Within that graphic space, we can roll the 3D object and manipulate it this way with the roll along the Z axis. We can also drag on the axes. And by dragging, we're dragging the 2-dimensional postcard freely within the 3-dimensional graphic space. And of course we have the slide, which is just like the slide that we saw on the arrow command. So those are our basic commands within the 3D graphic space. However, we're going to get rid of all these and start from scratch. Let's see what we have under our mesh from presets. We have all kinds of presets. We have a cone, a cube wrap, cylinder, donut, etc. Let's just take a look at a cube wrap, and by choosing cube wrap and creating it, our image is then placed on a 3D cube. And you can see here we have SolidBox, Photoshop in 3D on 4 sides of a cube. However, given that it is a cube, every single side of this cube is going to be equal. And if you remember, our image was not a square, so it has been scaled to fit on this cube. So if you remember our commands on our axis arrows, we can move on the Y, we can rotate on the Y axis, and we can also scale by using this bottom function. And by scaling it down to approximately what the aspect ratio was of the original photo, we can restore it to how it should look. So when we rotate this time, you can see our photo looks a lot better on each side of that cube. So that's how you create an image pasted to every side of a cube. So let's go ahead and delete and start again. Let's see what else we have under our mesh from preset. If we scroll down, you can see that we have something called soda, and you may ask yourself, why would there be something called soda in Photoshop? If you guessed that it wrapped your photo around a soda can, you would be correct. So let's go ahead and create this soda can. And as you can see, Photoshop layers our photo on the soda can kind of erratically. We only have the D and the box of SolidBox. So we're going to have to go into the photo, resize it for the soda can, and then save it again. So let's go under Layers, and right here you see Label Material. That's going to be the actual photo. So let's double click on it, and you can see it opens up in a PSB file, and the PSB file is an internal file format in Photoshop. So one thing you'll notice is that our background photo is locked, so we can't edit it. So we're going to have to make a duplicate layer, so we'll duplicate it right inside of this PSB file, and we'll delete the background. Now that this photo is fully editable, we will go to Transform, Scale, and we're just going to bring it down maybe half size. And you can see it's a little scrunched, so let's bring it up a little bit as well and see if that helps. Now in order for this edit to occur on the soda can, we're going to have to save it. So we'll save and apply transformation before savings and apply. Now if we go back to our photo, and you can see that it has resized on the soda can a little better, and we're still missing about half of our logo down here. So let's go back to our PSB file and see if we can shorten it up even a little bit more. Let's try that and save it and see what happens. So there you go. It's a lot better now. We still have a little bit of white space, so we went a little too far. So we can always change that again, but we won't get too crazy here. Just bring it back maybe that much and apply it and save it. And there you see we have our SolidBox logo all on this soda can. So let's see if we can rotate this thing and check it all out. There's a little bit of space on the back, so it might be the kind of thing where you duplicate this layer again and paste it right on top of it, so you have two photos that are going to wrap around the circumference of this can. But we won't worry about that. You get the idea. So once again, we're going to undo all of these, and we're left with our photo again. So although there are many more 3D functions in Photoshop, I'd like to just take a look at one more right now. For this function, I've created a different photo, SolidBox in black and white with our logo in the SolidBox blue. Also important to notice is that our background is gray. So let's go under our 3D tab, and we've already taken a look at some of these mesh from presets. So let's move on to mesh from depth map, and you may ask yourself, what is a depth map? Well, let's select all of our layers and find out. Once we create that single plane depth map, you'll see that we have a 3D extrusion based on color. We have high colors or lighter colors extruding to the front, and then we have darker colors or low colors extruding to the back. Grays are somewhere right in the middle, so they stay right in the middle. The box that is SolidBox blue is red is a little bit lighter than the gray, so you can see that it's sticking out forward. So what can we do with this depth map? Well, why don't we bring these extrusions in a little bit, and we can create a really neat 3D effect. So let's just drop the width of this entire box by scaling along the Z-axis, and we're going to bring it pretty close. How about that far? Before we stop there, I would like to show you that we can't go any further than flat. So you can't have white extruding out the back and black extruding out the front. That's just the nature of the depth map. So let's leave it right about that width and take a look at it right here. So it looks pretty chunky, right? Not all that great. But what we can do is go into our layers, and if we click on our layer 1 depth map, it'll open up a PSB file once again. So now within this PSB file, we can change the color of these letters, and it won't change the extrusion at all. That depth map is only controlled within the original file, so within the PSB we can control the colors of the letters, we can change the color of the background, and we can also add some filters, and it won't affect the depth map at all. So first let's add some Gaussian blur to each one of these layers. Right around 9 pixels should be okay. And we need to recetterize these two text layers, so we'll do them individually. And okay. Now if we take a look back at our Photoshop file, you can see that the harsh edges of the text smooth out and it becomes a much nicer image to look at. So let's rotate around and take a look. It looks much, much better. So those are a few quick and easy 3D functions in Photoshop. Next time you have to design a logo, or if you just want to add some dimension to some of your own text, feel free to play around with some of those 3D options. Hopefully this has been helpful. Thanks for watching.